Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum letzten Türchen des Fandom Floo-Adventskalenders. Ich bin so happy, dass ich euch zu dem heutigen Türchen, dem 24. Dezember, etwas ganz Besonderes geben kann. Denn ich habe die Möglichkeit bekommen, MesserMoon, die Autorin von Choices, zu interviewen. Doch bevor wir jetzt gleich in das englischsprachige Interview übergehen, möchte ich noch ein paar wichtige Dinge loswerden. Zuallererst möchte ich mich bei euch für euren Support bis hierhin bedanken. Es bedeutet mir sehr, sehr viel, dass ihr mit dem Podcast mit mir interagiert, Reaktionen gebt und ihn fleißig hört und einfach Spaß daran habt. Und ich habe auch zwischendurch gelesen, dass es einige inspiriert hat, selber auch mal Fanfiction zu schreiben, was ich richtig cool finde. Eigentlich bin ich ja nicht die Quelle dieser ganzen Fanfictions, sondern ich lese nur vor. So die richtigen Masterminds dahinter sind ja eigentlich MesserMoon und Senlin Yu. Zumindest jetzt für die 2 Podcasts oder die 2 Fanfictions, die gerade laufen. Aber ja, es rührt dann einen doch schon sehr, wenn man jemanden irgendwie inspirieren konnte oder ein Lächeln aufs Gesicht zaubern konnte. Und das motiviert einfach, diesen Podcast so fortzuführen. Es ist zu einem Baby geworden und ja, ich freue mich jedes Mal, wenn das Ganze dann auch so gut bei euch ankommt. Dann zweiter Punkt, das Interview habe ich natürlich auf Englisch geführt, weil MesserMoon aus dem englischsprachigen Raum kommt. Also wir haben beide versucht, sehr deutlich zu sprechen und uns nicht zu überschneiden, uns nicht ins Wort zu fallen, aber wie es nun mal so ist in einer Konversation und vor allem, wenn man nicht in einem gleichen Raum sitzt, kann es halt dazu kommen, dass vielleicht hier und da mal etwas nicht ganz so verständlich ist. Falls ihr irgendwelche Probleme habt, schreibt es mir bitte gerne, weil dann versuche ich zumindest, vielleicht irgendwie nochmal irgendwie ein Transkript hochzuladen oder es irgendwie möglich zu machen, dass ihr das Interview noch in richtiger, vollständiger Form quasi zu lesen bekommt. So, und last but not least, ich bin selber kein Native English Speaker und spreche 3 Sprachen quasi fließend. Deswegen fällt es mir manchmal ein bisschen schwer, auch so genau das Wort zu finden, was ich gerade suche. Und ich versuche es dann auch hier und da mal zu umschreiben oder ja, manchmal verspricht man sich halt auch einfach. Aber ich denke, da können viele zu relaten, die jetzt auch nicht Englisch als Muttersprache haben. Deswegen, würde ich mich auf jeden Fall für euer Verständnis in der Form bedanken und wünsche euch jetzt ganz, ganz viel Spaß mit diesem besonderen Interview. Ich habe mich richtig, richtig gefreut, als ich die Möglichkeit bekommen habe und ich hoffe, es verzaubert euren 24. Dezember genauso wie meinen. Yeah, welcome to the last door of the Fandom Floo Adventskalender, and I am so excited to have a very special guest with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, I'm Soph. I'm MesserMoon on AO3, and I am the author of Choices.
Welcome. Yeah, I'm so excited. We just did a little chat before we start recording and just to warm up a little bit. But today is all about choices, I would say, and about your work and about a little bit background story maybe. And we also prepared like a little list of questions, but we will just chat a little bit and talk about choices, the characters, etc. So I think we can jump in and start with like one of the questions that is, I think, the most important questions. What inspired you to write Choices?
So, I mean, I had just started grad school, and I have always, like, writing is something I've always done, but I found, like, once I was in school, it was harder to have the energy or, like, the brain power to write original fiction. And it was also kind of halfway through the pandemic. So I was on TikTok, and TikTok was giving me sort of like Harry Potter Marauders content. Um, and so I was like, hey, I don't have the energy to write original fiction, but like maybe I can still write. I'll just write fan fiction and it'll be like silly and goofy and casual. And then it became none of those things.
Yes, it was quite opposite, but okay. And why did you choose like James and Regulus? Because there are also other marauders.
So on TikTok there was Jegulus Week happened at some point,
Ah,
which
okay.
I don't know, I don't remember like why, but like for whatever reason people discovered that some people shipped Regulus and James and it blew up on TikTok and people were making videos about it. And mostly it was like very joking. And it was like, ha ha ha, isn't this like a crazy ship? And like the thing that people still all like say when they find out about Regulus is I was like, that could never work. Like that's impossible. And
Hmm.
I was like, well, that sounds like a challenge. Like I was
I
kind
will
of
make it possible.
yeah, I was a little bit like yes, it's silly, like yes, it's crazy, but I was kind of like, okay, but like is like could you make that work? Like that's kind of interesting to me. And I couldn't find any really long form like Jegulus stories. I only sort of found sort of little one shots where they were already kind of together. And I was like, okay, well, I want to see if I can write a story that convinces me that like this could happen.
Okay, interesting. Um, when you saw the TikToks, was it with the fan cast, or I found it very cringe to imagine the real cast, James and Regulus, and I always like yeah, I don't know. I when I imagine them, I would also say it's impossible. But if you see the fan cast, it makes so much sense because I like them both, maybe.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't. I think I wasn't active on the Marauders like era on TikTok at this time. But yeah, it's just I'm just curious. Was it like Aaron Taylor Johnson and Timothy Chalamet, or?
yeah. I think like if there were videos using a fan cast, then those would be who was being used. But I feel like it was more just people kind of reacting to it and
I
like
like cosplaying, or
no, almost just like I like just like talking to it, like
talking to it? Okay.
about it,
Hmm.
like just coming on and using
So how
silly.
funny is this idea of okay?
And like I guess there must have been fan edits, but they were also sort of silly. Like they weren't like they are now, where they're
Hmm.
very like, serious and sad.
Yes. Do you also follow or see them on TikTok, like especially Choices fan edits?
I
Just
definitely do see choices stuff. I feel like now I see it for whatever reason they're coming up less on my For You page, but my friends every once in a while, like if they see something nice, they'll
yeah.
like, send it to me, and I'm like, oh. Every time I see one, I like it. I'm like, because it's so fun. Like it's so
Yeah.
fun and nice to think that like we're all inspiring each other to create things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, TikTok is a whole other universe for fan fiction. I think the potential is insane. Yes. Okay, so just to come back to the time where you have choices, do you have any like challenges that you had during writing the fan fiction, or do you have like a specific process when you're writing fan fiction? It's also a question that came from TikTok from a listener or from a fan. So maybe you can tell us some background story about your writing process.
So I'm a pretty chaotic writer, I think. I'm not really a planner. If I sit down and I try and plan out everything that's going to happen, I lose all motivation to like write the story. Um, I work more like I'll have kind of like milestones. I have sort of ideas of certain events that are going to happen, and then I just start writing and like I'm kind of winging the stuff that happens in between those milestones. So I sort of Well, when I started writing choices, I actually wasn't sure whether or not I was going to write the war years. Um, Honestly, I got 4 chapters into choices and was like, maybe the story is done now." Like, I was like, I actually, what am I writing now? I'm confused.
So it was not the plan to write like a so long fan fiction. I don't
Well,
know the count of words, but it's one of the longest.
it was and it was and it wasn't. Like the milestones I had in my brain when I started it were the prank and
Hmm.
them breaking up.
Hmm.
Them getting together, obviously, the prank and like them breaking up were like moments that I'd really visualized. But I just remember like getting to them that I think it's like chapter 4 and it like ends with them in the astronomy tower and they like are kissing and I was like, okay, I have no idea how I'm going to come up with enough content to
Okay.
get me to the end of them at school. um, and then I just did somehow. I just like kept writing, and it worked out. It ended up being much longer. Um, but yeah, I kind of just I have to just write. I can't think about it too much,
Hmm.
um, which I is kind of illogical, but it has worked so far.
Um, do you have like a time? How long do you write on one chapter? Is there a specific like time? I don't know, like one day, or is it like did you finish a chapter like in 2 hours? Can you say something like that?
I would say that usually a 30-page chapter takes me about a week to write. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the first few chapters of choices I wrote really quickly. And then after that, I think it was pretty much like I got out 1 chapter a week most of the time.
Yeah.
There's like a couple chapters in there, especially at the end, that are like really, really long, and those
Yes.
took me, yeah.
I can show you my books. My books
Yeah.
are, yes, they are very long.
Yeah, I think like yeah, the last one was like a couple hundred pages. So those took
Yeah.
a while. But
Mm-hmm.
usually I aim for the chapters to be somewhere between 20 and 30 pages, and usually that takes me about a week.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Because so my process is to translate and to record the chapters. And the first few chapters, I think it was like the first 10 or 15 chapters, I make a single record and release one chapter as an episode.
Mhm.
And I don't know which chapter it was, but I started to break it into two parts because it got so long and it
Yeah.
was like not so I don't know, impossible to record so long and to upload also a long episode. I always thought, who would listen to 2 hours or 3 hours of a podcast episode? But then there were like messages like, "Why did you make it two parts? Because I would like to listen to it a little bit longer." And I was like, "Oh no, it's not. It's like a little time issue that I have." And a fun fact, I think I can mention this at this point. My best buddy, Regulus buddy, I would say.
Mhm.
Her name is Bex, so shout out to her. We are currently reading Kill Your Darlings
Oh,
together, your other fan fiction,
yeah.
Regulus fan fiction. And she's oh, I think she wrote today, I'm almost finishing it, so I'm like on the last chapter, but it's like 50 pages, and I was like, what? I'm just on chapter 7. How did you manage to read it like in a week or something? We just started like a few days ago. And she was like, I just love her. She's so good at writing. It's so good. And she also liked the Rose Killer pairing, the ship.
Uh,
And yeah, I was like very into it. So yeah, I will do my homework later and read further. But yeah, I also what I would like to say was like I immediately recognize your writing style because it's unique. I think I just read the few sentences at the beginning, and I was like, okay, this is MesserMoon. And I also what made me do like download the fic and read it was I saw a TikTok, and I hope I don't mix it up, but I saw a TikTok where a girl, a boy, I don't know, was like G and S in Kill Your Darlings and G and S in Choices. There was like a comparison, and I was like, okay, I need to read it because I also like the backstory of Salazar and Godric Gryffindor in Choices. It was so good. It fits just like so good in the whole story. And this was like a point where, or I don't know if it was it like this fan fiction. Maybe I mixed it up, but I just saw it and I was like, okay, I need to download and read it on my Kindle, and just started with together with Bex, and we are very you can see like very excited to read it. But maybe we can talk about your other works at the end of the episode. There are also a few questions about Chosen.
Yeah.
But yeah, later. So do you have like a favorite scene or moment in the story, or a favorite character in Choices? So
I have a couple. I think again, there's the prank is like a big one for me because it was
mhm,
such a it's like a big it's like a big moment for me in like Marauders lore in general, and I think something like most Marauders fanfics tackle it in some way or another, and I always think it's interesting to see like different interpretations and like uh and the different ways that people approach it. So like that was a big one for me because I was like I have a very clear vision of like what this moment is supposed to be and like what it means to these different characters. And I think especially for me it was like because at that point in the story as well it's so much of it is told from James's perspective.
mhm,
I thought it was really fun to tell that moment from his perspective because usually it's more Wolfstar focused.
mhm,
I'm such a big James Sirius person that like I really wanted to explore like how much that moment impacts that friendship.
mhm,
And then also I really like the Lupercal chapter where you sort of get the werewolves. That was like I mean that was a very stressful chapter for me to write, but like ultimately I did what I wanted to do. Um, and I so like I'm ultimately very happy with that chapter. And then in the last chapter, I like there's like Lily and James have a fight about therapy. I'm kind of obsessed with that scene for some reason, and also
mhm.
Harry's birth. I really liked having all the girls come together and like support her in that moment. So those are like my top moments.
Okay, yeah. And also, I would say for me, it's like the parallels between Patroclus and Achilles.
Oh yeah,
Um, it's like for me the most outstanding story in the fan fiction. Um, did you get inspired by the song of Achilles, or how was the idea coming up to you? So, what was it like to bring it into Choices?
yeah, it was definitely Song of Achilles is my favorite book, I think. Um,
Okay.
and then there's also the painting that's in the Room of Requirements, the
Yeah.
like lamenting the death of Patroclus is one of my favorite paintings. And it was sitting, I have it like a print of it, and it's
Mm.
framed. It was like sitting above my desk while I was like writing the story. So
Okay.
like right there. Um,
So you
yeah,
have the inspiration in front of you while
yeah,
writing.
the
Okay.
inspiration. And I think there is just something like the Greeks just write tragedies so well, and this idea that like I don't know, like these love stories like don't have happy endings, and I like they just like sit with you. There was something about that that felt so fitting for this story.
Mm, mm. I'm currently reading the Song of Achilles. in English. So it's a little bit hard for me, I would say, because Greek mythology is a little bit hard to understand in English for me. So I also download like the German ebook version of it, just to have a little comparison while reading or to understand it a little bit better. But Choices was obviously the reason why I started reading it, because I just thought that maybe it's just an inspiration for you while writing Choices. And I was just curious, how the story of Achilles and Patroclus was. So I just started it, and I think I need to finish it. It's like I started with Kill Your Darlings, and it's a little bit messed up my plans. But they are both good. So I will just I hopefully will finish both of them by the end of the year. So I always, so if you say Choices, or if anyone would ask me about Choices, I would always say it's like, don't go to Troy, the most popular line, and it always stuck in my head. And this was like a question I need to ask you, because it's it's just great to have like this line in this story, in this fan fiction, and it fits so good. So okay, and I have a specific a question about a character. So, and I was thinking about it like yesterday when I was recording an episode. It's about Cersei Greengrass. I don't know if I pronounce it right. The friend of Regulus Black. She, I think she's a really nice character and a nice add to Regulus, and I was like wondering, you obviously made her up, so there is no Cersei, but there is a Greengrass family, Astoria Greengrass, for example, like the wife of Draco Malfoy later. What did you imagine? Is she any related to Astoria Greengrass, or what was the idea?
Yeah, the idea was that she is related to Astoria in some way. But like I really wasn't, I'm pretty bad at, there are some people who are very into sort of like canon and really making sure that like things fit and all of that, and I am not so into that. So I was kind of just like, I wanted a last name that was sort of associated with Slytherin, but like that I could do whatever I wanted with, that wasn't like a character that the fandom already had a whole lot of sort of lore built around. So I just sort of took that name and made Cersei, partially because at that point in the story I was like, if Regulus doesn't have somebody
Supportive friend, yes.
he is gonna just fall apart at this point. Like,
Yes.
there's no way that he can continue on without something positive. Like, he needs something positive. And so I was like, okay, here's this character.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have a really lovely like friendship, and she is till the end on his side and supports him. I don't want to spoiler too much, because we are like on chapter 39, and there's obviously not, we are not on the point like on chapter what was it, 54, where everything breaks apart. So I don't want to spoil it. So it's I like her very very much, and I like her that you also include her on Kill Your Darlings.
She's kind of become like my little like Easter egg character almost. Like she just shows up in all of my kind of Marauders fics.
Yeah, I like her because she's like a little, I don't know, especially in Choices, she's like a little light in the dark world of Regulus, and it makes me happy when I read something about her on the chapters. So it's a nice addition. Okay, yeah, this I don't know. It was like yesterday. I recorded it, and I was like, okay, I need to ask her when I when we are doing the interview. So maybe we can jump into more general, like fanfics or your other works. Do you want to introduce the other works that you did so far on, especially AO3?
Sure. So, I mean, there's a bunch. So there's Kill Your Darlings was well, yeah, Kill Your Darlings is my other kind of uh big Marauders one that I finished, which is like a college hockey non-magical alternative universe. Um which was like in my head is my like fluffy fic. That was like my fluffy counterpart to Choices, which is also kind of why it's called Kill Your Darlings, because that's like the writing advice is like you have to kill off the characters that you love. And then I thought
Mm.
it was kind of fun to be like, well, now I'm going to write a fan fiction where I don't kill off any of the characters that I killed off in the
Hmm.
last one. They all get to live. um, some people argue that it is not fluffy. It is actually very angsty. But like nobody dies, so I think it still counts.
Yes.
Um, and then I have right now I'm working of his bones, which is a pirate royalty AU with the
I have it
Marauders.
on my list. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like so close to the end, but like I haven't finished it yet. But almost, we're almost there. And then I have Killer, which is a rose killer. Um, sort of I mean the idea is to kind of do what I did with Jegulus but with Rose Killer this time. So
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
their story in canon, sort of again being like, okay, well, how does this work? Because they're also a pairing that I feel like you see a lot in AUs and you see kind of like in the background of other fics, but there's not necessarily like a long form story in canon that's
Hmm.
focused on them. Um, so I was like, ooh, that could be fun. Also, I've had so much fun writing them in these other fics that I'm like, I want to get back to that. And then there's Chosen, which is a sequel to Choices. Kind of on pause. Um, yeah.
Will you continue to write on Chosen?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It's
So,
not, nothing is ever dead for me. It's
okay.
just I've gotten distracted with like real world stuff recently, so
Yeah.
it's really slowed down my process.
Yeah.
And also I keep starting new fan fictions, which I have to stop doing.
I think I when you mentioned like your fan fictions, I think I mixed it up with he is looking at your kid with
He
the
was
G
looking,
and S
yes,
because it was like Harry and Draco and James and okay, so yeah. But I was like in your work list and then we just scrolled together and was like, oh, we need to start another Jaggelus fan fiction. This was like the idea, and then we started with Kill Your Darlings. So yeah,
yeah.
sorry for the
Oh, no.
confusion. So yeah.
Yeah,
um,
so Here's Looking at You Kid, which is not Marauders, it's Golden Trio, and it's about
mhm,
Troy Weasley and
yeah.
Blaze.
And I never did read a Drarry fan fiction. I don't know. Do you read any other pairing or ships or
Yeah,
fan fictions?
a lot of
Is there
Drarry.
any? Yeah.
I think I find Drarry easier than I find reading Marauders fan fiction because I have such a strong sense in my brain of like the Marauders and their relationships, and so it's much harder for me to like accept other people's interpretations. Not that I don't think that like I love that we all have different interpretations, but it's like harder for me to like get past that thing in my
For me
brain.
too. It's like it's always choices.
Whereas like Barry, I feel like it's way easier for me to accept. Like people will have varying interpretations of like Draco and Harry as characters, and like
Mhm.
obviously there's some I like more and some I like less. But it's way easier for me to just be like, okay, this isn't my interpretation, but like I'll read it anyways. Um, versus like yeah, the Marauders. Sometimes I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Same. It's also hard for me to accept another Marauders fan fiction. There are great fan fictions, obviously. I also read some alternative universe fan fictions like Arte's Baby
Yeah.
was also very good. But I don't know, I will always stick to like more canon compliant fanfics because it's like in my brain they make more sense to me. And I really like to be in the magical world. So yeah, it's Choices is
It is
therefore
like
on the first place. So yeah.
there is something always special about the kind of canon universe. Like even when I started like both with Chosen and with Killer, like when I went back and I was like, oh my gosh, we're on the Hogwarts Express again. Like
Yeah.
we're going back to school. Like this is so I miss this.
When you published Chosen, I got an email from AO3 and I was like, oh my God, I need to read it immediately. And I just left everything and start reading it, the first chapter. And I was like you said, I was in the mood of choices and was like back to Jaggles. Sadly, it's not about Jaggles, but it's like for the other characters that left behind. But it was like so happy moment for me because I knew you will continue to write on choices, like not like you can't write more like from from James and Regulus perspective, but that you just took Sirius and Remus especially in the foreground and wrote something about them was like so healing. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to read more chapters on this fan fiction. But like I said, I also like the other ones, which I'm currently reading. I also read the first chapter of He's Looking at Your Kid because I was like curious about Harry and the shipping. But I don't know. I was like, okay, maybe I should stop reading too many books or too many fan fictions at the same point because it just started to mix up in my head and so maybe later. But I'm looking forward to it. So yeah. Do you have like you also talked about that Song of Achilles is your favorite book? Do you have any other favorite books or recommendations that inspires you or that you like so far?
I there's Hilary Mantel is one of my favorite authors. She died actually recently. But she wrote a lot of historical fiction. So like Wolf Hall is a series, but specifically the first one is one of my favorite books ever written. And then also A Place of Greater Safety. Wolf Hall is about uh, um, Thomas Cromwell. So it's like Tudor England, and A Place of Greater Safety is about the French Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can see, I think there's aspects of her writing style that have definitely influenced my writing style. She likes to jump through time a lot. And I think she like sort of takes these bigger historical moments and then like focuses in on more like characters. They feel like very character, I don't know, like heavy to me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like which I really appreciate. And she also doesn't do a whole lot of exposition, which is part of the reason that I love fan fiction, is that I don't want to have to explain anything to people. I just want to write the good stuff. We were kind of
Mm-hmm.
talking about this before we started recording, but I'm like, I just want to get right to the like drama of it all. And like fan fiction is so easy for that. Like I don't have to tell you what people look like. I don't have to tell you about Regulus
Yeah.
and Sirius or brothers. You know, you already know. We just get right into it. Um, so yeah, Hilary Mantel is definitely one of my other sort of like big influences.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to look her up. So I don't know any books of her, but yeah, I will put it on my list later. um, and I also I mentioned it before when we didn't start recording. I put a little TikTok on my account where I ask Is there anything specific you want to know from MesserMoon? And there was also a question that I find really interesting, and I am curious to know your answer. It's how does one deal with the pain of writing something as painful as choices?
So like I actually find it way easier to write sad things than to read sad things. There's something about like being in control of the sadness, I guess. Um, and also, I don't know, I kind of love it. If you people who followed me on Tumblr as I was writing Kill Your Darlings, I got to a certain point and I was like, man, I really miss writing death scenes. And then people were like, do not kill me. You promise. You promised no one was gonna die, and I was like, no, no one's gonna die. We're at university. I don't know how someone would die. It'd have to be a crazy plot twist. But like those scenes are so like grief is something that I really am fascinated by, and I like writing about. So, like Here's Looking at You Kid especially deals a lot with grief because George is dealing with the death of his twin brother.
Yes.
And same with like Chosen. One of the reasons that I was like, okay, I do want to write sort of a sequel to this is like the trying to imagine like how Sirius or Remus keep going. Like there's something about that like I and like how they keep going like once they get back reunited as well, like there's so much pain there.
Yes.
Like yes, like that feels like so much fun to write, but it's like it's way harder. I get way more emotional when I'm reading somebody else's telling of it.
Okay. Interesting. Yes. I think Wolfstar is for me like pure tragedy. I really like Wolfstar. I like Sirius and Remus. I think Remus is my favorite character ever in the canon. Um, I also like the actor David Thewlis.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, I like him really much. He's like my headcanon, and for
Yeah.
everything he's like the how do you say the character that I always had in my mind when I read about Remus. But it's like because like in canon how their story is, like how they continue to live or to deal like in this specific situation during the war. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like for example, Jeglis was more a surprise for me. I didn't thought that I would like it, and it's like it came out of nowhere. So I was like, yes, it makes absolutely sense. But yeah, I don't know. I like Jeglis a little bit more than Wolfstar. Sorry, Wolfstars as a fan, but it's I don't know. They have like a very specific dynamic which can't top any other. So yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think there's something about James's like hope that makes that one like in my head like both Sirius and Remus are pretty um like uh like skeptical people.
Mm-hmm.
Um but James like always believes that there
Mm-hmm.
is a way. That good will triumph. Like
Mm-hmm.
that in a way like it makes Chegulus more tragic, and I think even like what I tried to sort of play with too, like the most tragic bit of it is like the moment that he gets Regulus to kind of believe that too, like
Yeah.
the moment that he gets Regulus to believe that there is hope, and then it's like surprise.
Yes.
So actually
uh,
Regulus is right.
I just looked up a specific scene. I don't know if I can find it, but it reminds me of that. I don't know if I can find it like so quickly, but I don't know. Maybe I just put it here on my iPad. um, I just wrote like the most iconic quotes that stuck in my head, and it's the line where you wrote, "Suddenly it seems important that they know, that somebody know that after everything Regulus did the right or choice." Yeah, it's I I don't know, like I was like, yes, maybe he can go out of the shit and do the
Yeah.
right thing, but I forgot about the major character there, Peg. And yes, it was a little bit hard to read. I was like, I also remember so good when I read the chapter 45, is it correct? I don't want to mix it up. Where is like the line somewhere in West Country of England, James Potter can breathe.
Oh, 50s.
54, okay. I was like in my bedroom alone and crying hours and hours about the scene. It was devastating. And after that, I finished it really quickly. And my husband obviously saw that I read some devastating fan fiction, and he was like, "What did you read? What did happen to you?" And I was like, "Yeah, there is this fan fiction about James and Regulus, and he's a Harry Potter fan, but he's not like into the fandom so much like me, and he's not on social media, so he doesn't have the connection to the fandom so intensive." And I was like, "Yeah, and there's had James and Regulus, and James is the father of Harry." So I was trying to explain him the whole universe,
Yeah.
and they are together, and then this and this happened, and he just listened to me like 1 or 2 hours and was like, "Okay, it sounds really good. Uh, tell me more about it." And I was like, "Okay, I can tell you more about it." And then he understands why I was so like sad and was crying about it. And yeah, he was a very supportive supportive husband during reading choices. Yeah, but it is I really have like anxiety and worries about the time when I will record this chapter because it will be very hard for me to record it. I just struggled with chapter 39 when they broke up.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I don't know. I will tell you then when I'm at this point. I will give you an update how long it will take to record this particular scene. So yeah, yeah. I just will look at my list, like the list of questions, but I think we mostly covered all of them. But there was also another question from a fan. It's not so choices related, but she was curious about if there is any tip you would like to give a beginner writer.
I mean, I think my tip, which is gonna not be that helpful, is to just write.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I feel like people uh they get well, okay, two tips, but both of them are basically just write. Like one is like I think you get overwhelmed by the like prospect of it, so they like don't even try and it's like just start writing and you'll figure things out as you go. And the other is like um you're you let yourself have a first draft. Like the first stuff you write can be bad. It's probably gonna be bad, but you have to write the bad, messy, rough stuff in order to get to the good things. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the middle of like writing a story or a chapter or whatever it is and you're like this is bad, this is like bad, I should just stop now. It's like no, like just keep going. Like just get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's bad. And then you can go back and you have this bad thing and you can like be like, okay, it's bad because of this bit here. I don't like this bit. So like you change it, you edit it, you fix it. But if you just stop or if you don't start, like you'll never get anywhere. And those I think are the like scariest and hardest things to do. Like you have to just start and you have to just let yourself be bad.
Okay, so it will have ugly stages, but you will figure it out and go with the process, I think. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How long are you writing right now? So, I don't know. Did you start with Choices, or is there any other fiction before Choices?
Choices was my first fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But like I wrote for myself before.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I used to just write books in high school.
Oh,
Just
okay. So it was like a hobby, and you just publish
yeah.
it, and okay, on the internet on AO3. Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, yeah, I think we mostly covered all the questions, and I don't know, talk about like everything regarding choices. Do you have any additional, yeah, information or anything you want to just put it out to, to the fans and to the listeners?
I mean, thank you for recording the podcast, and translating it. I think that's like incredible and amazing. And like I'm so glad that people are reading and enjoying this story and other stories. It's like very nice. It's very sweet.
I just can't give this back to you because I found you so inspiring, and I really appreciate your work. And it's like not a normal thing to publish such time-consuming fan fictions or writings that like you did.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing it with us, and I am so looking forward to other great stories that you will write, and especially for Charles. No pressure. No pressure. No, in the meantime, I will just read Kill Your Darlings, and he's looking at your kids. So I have enough like reading stuff. Yeah, and I would say we can close this episode at this point or finish it. Thank you all for listening to Fandom Floo and to make it so special. And I hope you liked the last door of our Adventskalender. If you have like any questions, anything you want to ask or say to me, to like feedback, like anything, just put it in the comments. And I will reply to you as soon as possible. Thank you, MesserMoon. And yes, I think that's it. Bye-bye.